Jessica Miller was a 30-year-old woman living in Chicago, Illinois. From the outside, her life looked like a dream. She had a successful career as an interior designer, a beautiful apartment overlooking the city's Skilling, and a fiance named Daniel Brooks. They had been together for 5 years, and everyone believed they were the perfect couple. Jessica trusted Daniel with all her heart. They had already booked their wedding venue, sent invitations to family members, and were counting down the final 60 days until their wedding. Every evening, Jessica imagined walking down the aisle while Daniel waited for her with a smile. Daniel always knew the right words to say. He surprised her with flowers, remembered every important date, and never gave her a reason to doubt him. Jessica believed she had found the man she would spend the rest of her life with. One Friday evening, Jessica left work early. She wanted to surprise Daniel with his favorite dinner and celebrated the final payment for their wedding venue. She stopped by a luxury restaurant, picked up their favorite food, bought a chocolate cake, and even purchased an expensive bottle of wine. As she drove home through the rainy streets of Chicago, she smiled. She imagined Daniel opening the door, hugging her tightly, and laughing when he saw the surprise. But life had prepared something very different. Jessica quietly unlocked the apartment door. Everything was silent. "Daniel," she called. No answer. She walked inside, placing the food on the kitchen counter. Suddenly, she heard soft laughter coming from upstairs. Her smile disappeared. Her heartbeat became faster with every step. Slowly, she climbed the stairs. The bedroom door was slightly open. Jessica pushed it gently. The world stopped. Daniel was standing beside another woman. For several seconds, nobody moved. The cake slipped from Jessica's hands and crashed onto the floor. Daniel turned around, his face becoming completely pale. "Jessica, please, it is not what it looks like." But Jessica already knew the truth. The woman quickly grabbed her clothes and ran out of the room without saying a single word. Jessica looked into Daniel's eyes. The man she had trusted for 5 years suddenly looked like a complete stranger. Without shouting, without crying, without saying a single word, she turned around and walked away. Daniel kept calling her name, but Jessica never looked back. Outside, heavy rain covered the city. She drove for hours without knowing where she was going. Every memory hurt. Their first date, their first vacation, their engagement. Every beautiful moment now felt like a lie. Around midnight, Jessica parked near a quiet lake. She opened her banking app, hoping to distract herself. Suddenly, her hands froze. The balance didn't look right. She checked again, then again. Almost $0 had disappeared from their shared investment account. Jessica's breathing became heavy. "No, this can't be real." She immediately called the bank's emergency service. After verifying her identity, the representative quietly explained that most of the money had been transferred over the previous 10 days. The transfer had been approved using Daniel's authorized access. Jessica ended the call. Her heart wasn't just broken anymore. Her future had been stolen. That night, she didn't sleep. She sat in her car until sunrise, watching the rain fall across the empty streets. When the first light appeared in the sky, something inside her changed. She wiped away her tears. "If he wants to destroy my life, and then I'll build a better one." The next morning, she went straight to the bank. The manager confirmed everything. Daniel had carefully moved almost all of their savings into different business accounts, making the money difficult to recover. Jessica immediately hired one of Chicago's best attorneys and reported the case to the police. Later, that afternoon, she returned to the apartment. It was almost empty. Daniel's clothes were gone. His laptop had disappeared. Even the fringe engagement photos had been removed from the walls. Only one folded piece of paper remained on the kitchen table. Jessica slowly opened it. It read, "Don't waste your time looking for me. By the time you read this, I am already starting a new life." Jessica stared at the note for several seconds. Then she quietly folded it. A single tear rolled down her face. But instead of breaking down, she smiled. Not because she was happy, because for the very first time, she realized she had nothing left to lose. And sometimes, the most dangerous person in the world is the one who has nothing left to fear. To be continued. 3 days passed after Jessica walked away from the life she had spent 5 years building. The silence inside her small hotel room felt heavier than the betrayal itself. Every morning she woke up hoping everything had been a nightmare, but reality always returned. The police investigation had already begun, but the officers warned her that recovering the money could take years. Daniel had hidden the transfers through several companies, making the case extremely complicated. Most people would have given up. Jessica refused. She rented a tiny one-bedroom apartment on the edge of Chicago. It wasn't beautiful. The walls were old, the furniture was second-hand, and the neighborhood was noisy. But for the first time in years, everything inside belonged only to her. One evening, while unpacking old boxes, Jessica discovered a notebook she hadn't opened in years. Across the first page she had written, "One day I will build the most creative interior design company in America." She smiled sadly. Daniel had left when she wrote those words. "Dreams don't pay bills," he used to say. Jessica closed the notebook and whispered, "They will now." The next morning she resigned from her comfortable office job. Her friends thought she had lost her mind. "You have almost no savings left. What if your business fails? Maybe you should find another job first." Jessica listened politely. Then she followed her own heart. She turned her tiny apartment into a home office. One old desk became her workplace. A borrowed laptop became her business partner. Every day started before sunrise. Every night ended after midnight. She learned marketing, branding, finance, and online advertising. Whenever she didn't know something, she spent hours watching business lessons and practicing new skills. Weeks passed, then months. Clients rejected her proposals. Some never replied. Others canceled projects without paying. There were nights when Jessica counted the coins in her kitchen drawer, wondering if she could afford groceries. Still, she never quit. One afternoon, an elderly woman hired Jessica to redesign a small bookstore. Jessica treated the tiny project like it was worth millions. She worked with passion, creativity, and attention to every detail. When the bookstore reopened, customers loved it. Photos spread across social media. Within days, new clients began calling. One project became three. Three became 10. Soon restaurants, cafes, hotels, and offices wanted Jessica's designs. 2 years later, her tiny apartment office had become a modern design studio. She hired her first employee, then a second, then 10 more. Reporters started writing about the young entrepreneur who had rebuilt her life from nothing. Jessica never talked publicly about Daniel. She simply kept working. 3 years after the betrayal, her company employed more than 60 talented designers. She bought a beautiful office building overlooking downtown Chicago. The same people who once doubted her now admired her success. One Friday afternoon, while reviewing a new luxury hotel project, her assistant knocked gently on the office door. "Jessica." "Yes, there's a man here asking to see you." Jessica didn't look up. "Does he have an appointment?" "No." "Then tell him to leave." The assistant hesitated. "He says his name is Daniel Brooks." Jessica's hand froze above the documents. For 3 years she had imagined this moment. Sometimes she imagined yelling at him. Sometimes she imagined slamming the door in his face. Instead, she calmly stood up. "Send him in." A few seconds later the office door opened. Jessica almost didn't recognize him. The confident businessman was gone. His expensive suits had been replaced by old clothes. His hair had turned gray around the edges. Dark circles surrounded his tired eyes. He looked like a man carrying years of regret. "Has Jessica?" She remained silent. Daniel slowly looked around her luxurious office. "I've heard about your company." Jessica folded her arms. What do you want? Daniel lowered his head. I lost everything. Jessica said nothing. The woman I left you for disappeared with my money. My businesses failed. I owe millions. Nobody trusts me anymore. For the first time in years, Jessica felt nothing. No anger, no hatred, no sadness. Only peace. Daniel carefully reached into his coat pocket. He placed a small velvet box on her desk. Inside was the engagement ring she had worn years ago. I kept it, he whispered. I hoped, maybe one day, you'd forgive me. Jessica looked at the ring quietly. Then she closed the box and gently pushed it back toward him. We've already recovered everything you stole from me. Daniel looked confused. My confidence, my dreams, my future. His eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry. Jessica nodded. Believe you. Hope appeared on Daniel's face. Then Jessica spoke again. But forgiveness doesn't reopen closed doors. She walked toward the office entrance and opened it. I truly hope you rebuild your life. But you will never be part of mine again. Daniel picked up the ring with shaking hands. Without another word, he slowly walked out. The office door closed behind him. Jessica stood beside the window, looking across the Chicago skyline. She smiled softly. She thought that chapter of her life had finally ended. But she had no idea a phone call only a few days away was about to reveal a secret that would change everything. Again, Jessica believed that meeting Daniel was the final chapter of her painful past. She threw herself into work again, determined to focus only on the future. Her company continued to grow, signing contracts with luxury hotels, restaurants, and international brands. Employees admired her not only because she was successful, but because she treated everyone with kindness and respect. One quiet Monday morning, her phone rang. It was her attorney, Jessica. He said, I think you should come to my office immediately. We found something important. Within an hour, Jessica arrived. Her attorney placed several documents on the table. During the investigation into Daniel's failed businesses, federal investigators discovered hidden financial records. He secretly invested part of the money he stole from you through a shell company. The investment was forgotten. After the company collapsed, Jessica stared at the papers in disbelief. Does that mean? Her attorney smiled. Yes, the court has frozen the account. If everything goes as expected, that money legally belongs to you. Months of legal hearings followed. Daniel admitted what he had done years earlier. This time, there were financial records, witnesses, and signed documents proving the truth. The judge ruled in Jessica's favor. Nearly every dollar that had been stolen was returned along with years of accumulated investment profits. Friends expected Jessica to celebrate by buying a mansion, a private yacht, or luxury cars. Instead, she surprised everyone. She announced the creation of the Rising Hope Foundation, an organization dedicated to helping women who had experienced financial betrayal, emotional abuse, or the loss of everything they had worked for. The foundation offered free legal advice, business classes, career coaching, and small grants for women who wanted to start their own businesses. Within the first year, hundreds of women rebuilt their lives. Some opened cafes. Some started clothing brands. Others became photographers, designers, and entrepreneurs. One afternoon, a young woman named Olivia visited the foundation. She sat across from Jessica with tears in her eyes. My client emptied my bank account and disappeared, she whispered. I don't know where to begin. Jessica gently held her hand. I know exactly how you feel. For the next hour, Jessica shared her own story, not to talk about pain, but to prove that pain does not have to become the end of someone's life. Olivia left with hope in her eyes. Months later, she opened her own successful bakery. Stories like hers became the reason Jessica woke up every morning with purpose. A year later, Jessica received an invitation to speak at the National Business Leadership Summit in New York. More than 5,000 entrepreneurs filled the auditorium. As Jessica stepped onto the stage, the audience applauded. She smiled and began speaking. I once believed that losing everything meant my life was over. The room became silent. I was betrayed by the person I trusted most. My savings disappeared. My dreams collapsed. For a long time, I believed I was a victim. She paused, but then I realized something. That people who hurt us can only control our future if we allow them to. You cannot always control betrayal. You cannot always stop heartbreak, but you can always choose what happens next. The audience listened carefully. Jessica ended with the words that would later spread across social media around the world. Someone may steal your money. Someone may break your heart. Someone may destroy the life you planned, but they can never steal your courage unless you surrender it. Real revenge is not making someone suffer. Real revenge is becoming so successful, so peaceful, and so confident that your past no longer has the power to hurt you. For a few seconds, the room was completely silent. Then every person stood. The applause lasted for several minutes. Jessica smiled as tears filled her eyes. Not tears of sadness, tears of gratitude. As she looked across the crowd, she realized that the greatest victory of her life was never getting her money back. It was discovering the strongest version of herself. Sometimes life breaks your heart so it can rebuild your soul, and sometimes the greatest revenge is simply living a life so beautiful that the people who betrayed you become nothing more than a forgotten chapter. The end.